The habit that secretly kills your wealth is not dramatic. It does not look dangerous. It feels normal, comfortable, even harmless. That is why it is so powerful. Small daily behaviors shape financial outcomes more than rare big decisions. When a destructive habit repeats quietly for years, it compounds just like money does, but in the wrong direction. This habit is choosing immediate comfort over long-term growth. Every time you spend instead of invest, delay instead of act, or consume instead of build, you reinforce it. One decision seems small. Repeated daily, it becomes a financial pattern. Patterns determine outcomes. Wealth requires reversing that pattern intentionally. The habit hides inside routine spending. Subscriptions, upgrades, impulse purchases, they feel affordable individually, but together, they reduce your investing power. Capital that could compound for decades disappears on short-term satisfaction. The danger is not the size of each expense. It is the repetition. Another form of this habit is procrastination. You plan to start investing next month. You promise to learn about finance soon. You wait for more income before committing. Delay feels safe, but it steals time. Time is the strongest force in wealth building. Lost time cannot be recovered. The habit also appears as emotional decision-making. Fear during market drops leads you to sell. Excitement during rallies pushes you to buy impulsively. Emotional reactions interrupt strategy. Discipline protects it. When emotion leads, compounding weakens. When discipline leads, growth stabilizes and accelerates. This habit grows stronger when you justify it. You tell yourself you deserve the purchase because you worked hard. You say investing can wait because the amount is small. You convince yourself that starting later will not matter. These quiet justifications protect comfort, not progress. Over time, comfort becomes expensive. Another version of the habit is ignoring your numbers. You avoid tracking expenses, investments, and returns. What you do not measure, you cannot improve. Without clarity, money flows without direction. Wealth requires awareness. Awareness creates control. Control creates growth. The habit thrives on comparison. Seeing others spend or display success pressures you to match their lifestyle. Instead of building assets, you build appearances. Comparison shifts focus away from long-term independence toward short-term validation. Validation fades. Financial consequences remain. You may also mistake busyness for progress. Reading about investing, watching videos, discussing strategies, all of it feels productive. But without action, knowledge produces nothing. The habit replaces execution with preparation. Wealth grows from implementation, not endless planning. Comfort with debt is another hidden version. Small payments feel manageable, so you normalize borrowing. Over time, interest drains income that could have been invested. Debt compounds against you. While your money should be working for you, it works for lenders instead. The habit also shows up as inconsistency. One month you invest seriously, the next month you skip. Financial discipline cannot survive irregular effort. Compounding requires rhythm. When contributions stop and restart repeatedly, momentum weakens. Consistency, even in small amounts, builds far more power than occasional large efforts. Another form is underestimating small percentages. A minor fee, a slightly higher interest rate, a small lifestyle upgrade. They seem insignificant. The percentages compound just like returns do. Over decades, small inefficiencies quietly consume massive amounts of potential wealth. The habit convinces you that higher income alone will fix everything. You believe once you earn more, wealth will follow automatically. But without disciplined behavior, increased income simply increases spending. Growth in earnings without growth in control changes nothing. You may also avoid discomfort in learning. Investing requires understanding risk, patience, and delayed gratification. Instead of developing these skills, you remain in familiar territory. The habit protects ignorance because learning feels challenging. Unfortunately, ignorance is expensive. Finally, the habit thrives on short-term thinking. You measure success monthly instead of yearly. When results are slow, you lose motivation. The wealth builds slowly at first, then accelerates. If you abandon the process too early, you never reach the powerful stage of compounding. The habit quietly encourages lifestyle upgrades every time your income increases. A raise becomes a reason to spend more instead of invest more. Gradually, your expenses rise to match earnings. This prevents surplus capital from forming. Without surplus, there is nothing meaningful to compound over time. It also appears as fear of missing out. When others talk about fast profits, you feel pressure to act quickly. You abandon your strategy to chase excitement. Emotional chasing replaces calculated decisions. Over time, chasing destroys stability and erodes returns. The habit hides in lack of boundaries. Investment money and spending money mix together in one account. Without separation, discipline weakens. Clear boundaries protect capital. Protected capital grows. Unprotected capital disappears. You may rationalize an action by saying the amount is too small to matter, but small investments made consistently often outperform large, delayed ones. The habit dismisses small steps. Wealth respects them. The habit also convinces you that risk means danger only. In reality, avoiding all risk guarantees stagnation. Controlled, calculated risk is necessary for growth. Refusing to take any risk limits opportunity and keeps wealth out of reach. The habit tells you that you have time. You believe serious investing can start later, after one more year of comfort. But every delayed year reduces the power of compounding. Starting at 30 instead of 20 can mean thousands lost. Time is not neutral. It either works for you or against you. It also appears as dependence on motivation. When you feel inspired, you save and invest. When motivation fades, discipline disappears. Wealth cannot rely on mood. Systems must replace feelings. Automatic transfers and fixed plans protect progress when emotions fluctuate. The habit pushes you to seek complexity. Complicated strategies feel sophisticated, yet complexity often hides confusion and higher costs. Simple, consistent investing usually wins over elaborate plans. Simplicity encourages discipline. Complexity invites mistakes. You may focus only on returns while ignoring risk. Chasing high performance without understanding volatility creates instability. Large swings trigger emotional decisions. Balanced risk allows you to stay invested long enough for growth to unfold. Finally, the habit thrives in silence. Because the damage happens slowly, you do not notice it. Years pass without dramatic loss, only missed opportunity. Missed opportunity is invisible wealth. By the time you recognize it, compounding time is gone. The habit convinces you that budgeting limits freedom. You avoid structure because it feels restrictive. In reality, clarity creates control. Without a plan, money disappears unconsciously. With a plan, every dollar has purpose. Purpose turns income into capital. Capital turns into assets. Assets create freedom. It also hides in emotional spending after stress. A difficult week becomes justification for reward purchases. These small rewards slowly replace investment contributions. Relief is temporary. Financial impact is permanent. Stress management without spending protects long-term growth. The habit promotes short-term wins over long-term ownership. Selling investments at the first sign of profit feels smart. But strong assets often deliver their greatest returns over long periods. Early selling limits exponential growth. Patience unlocks it. You may ignore inflation because it is invisible. Money saved without investing quietly loses value each year. Doing nothing feels safe, but inactivity guarantees decline in purchasing power. Investment protects against erosion. The habit persuades you to avoid reviewing mistakes. Instead of learning from poor decisions, you move on quickly. Without reflection, errors repeat. Repeated mistakes compound negatively, just like repeated good decisions compound positively. The habit encourages living at the edge of your income. When every dollar is allocated to expenses, there is no margin for investment. Financial breathing room is essential. Without it, unexpected costs disrupt progress. Margin creates stability. Stability protects long-term strategy. It also shows up as ignoring raises and bonuses as investment opportunities. Extra income often disappears into lifestyle upgrades. Directing unexpected money into assets instead of expenses accelerates wealth dramatically. Intentional allocation changes outcomes. The habit convinces you that investing is risky but spending is safe. In truth, uncontrolled spending carries long-term risk. Investment carries short-term volatility, but long-term growth potential. Misunderstanding this difference keeps wealth out of reach. You may underestimate how powerful habits become over decades. Daily actions seem insignificant in isolation, but multiplied by years, they define financial destiny. Tiny improvements, repeated consistently, outperform rare dramatic changes. The habit thrives when you avoid financial conversations. Silence prevents learning. Learning builds confidence. Confidence strengthens discipline. Without knowledge, fear dominates decisions. Fear blocks opportunity and weakens growth. The habit convinces you that security comes from a steady paycheck alone. You rely entirely on earned income, ignoring asset income. As long as you trade time for money without building ownership, your financial ceiling remains fixed. Assets create leverage. Without leverage, growth stays limited. It also appears as impatience with slow progress. When investments grow gradually, you feel disappointed and question the process. Yet early stages of compounding always look unimpressive. Acceleration happens later. Quitting early guarantees you never see the powerful phase. The habit promotes reacting to every market movement. A small drop triggers concern. A small gain creates excitement. Constant reaction leads to constant adjustment. Frequent adjustment increases mistakes. Calm consistency reduces them. You may avoid setting automatic increases in your savings rate. When income rises, but investments remain the same, opportunity is wasted. Automatic escalation transforms growth in earnings into growth in assets. The habit also hides in undefined goals. Without a clear financial destination, discipline weakens. Specific targets create urgency and focus. Vague intentions rarely produce strong results. Clarity strengthens commitment. The habit convinces you that investing is optional. Some months you participate, others you skip. Inconsistent action destroys momentum. Compounding rewards regularity, not sporadic effort. Missing contributions repeatedly delays growth and reduces final wealth. Even if occasional amounts are large. It also hides in neglecting risk management. Avoiding proper diversification, insurance, and asset protection exposes your wealth to unnecessary losses. The rule requires balancing risk to preserve capital while allowing growth. Ignoring it slowly erodes progress. The habit appears as underestimating small daily decisions. Tiny indulgences, coffee, snacks, subscriptions, drain money that could have been invested. Repeated daily, small expenses quietly block wealth accumulation. Small habits define long-term results. You may rely too heavily on luck. Believing that wealth comes from chance encourages inaction. The habit convinces you that opportunity will randomly appear. In reality, consistent disciplined behavior creates opportunity repeatedly. The habit promotes overcomplicating finances. Constantly switching strategies, chasing trends, or seeking perfect options prevents execution. Simple, consistent approaches outperform complexity. Consistency beats cleverness in the long term. The habit hides in ignoring long-term perspective. You focus on monthly fluctuations instead of decades of growth. Short-term thinking encourages panic decisions. Compounding requires patience. Wealth grows slowly at first and accelerates later. Ignoring the long view keeps results small. It also appears as fear of failure. Avoiding investing or new opportunities to prevent mistakes guarantees stagnation. Failure teaches lessons. The habit keeps you frozen, missing years of potential growth while others take calculated risks. Finally, the habit convinces you to stay comfortable. Comfort feels safe but kills wealth silently. True financial freedom requires discipline, delayed gratification, and consistent action over time. Replacing this habit with intentional behaviors transforms small daily choices into long-term wealth.